spills through the cafe door. Mike goes live like it's done before. 9 years deep in these mountain towns, we brew the truth, not just sit around. I came for a visit, then stayed for the view. But the soul of this place, it just pulls you through. Mornings in Finlandia, nights in Salento. Life don't move fast, but man, it's full tempo. This ain't a pitch, it's real as it gets. From lost bags to love and bureaucratic regrets. No script here, just the sound of real lives told live every week under Colombian skies. It's coffee time live from the heart of Quindío, where the screen fades out and the real stories flow from expats who landed and locals who guide. We laugh, we vent, we cry, we ride. It's not about views, it's about the vibe. Just raw conversation, live and alive. Got folks tuning in from every time zone, asking what's it like to make this place your own. It's mango trees, it's rent debates, it's finding peace past the clickbait gates. Some days we talk visas, some days we just breathe and sip dark roast while the valley grieves through mudslides, marches, markets, and mess. We show up with stories, no more, no less. It's coffee time live, not just a name on a screen. It's 9 years of mornings and everything between. No hype, just heart and a decent brew. A place for the honest, the warm, the true. Not selling dreams, just sharing the ride from right here in Quindío live. And if you've ever felt a little lost or wide awake at dawn, this show was made for you to lean on. We're not tourists here, we belong, we build in mountain towns where the air stands
still.
So bring your mug, your doubts, your days. We'll light 'em up in soft cafe rays. It's not a podcast, it's a porch-like glow. It's home and a headline, a yes and a no. It's coffee time live, come as you are, from my table in Colombia to wherever you are.
Welcome back again to the channel Grand Colombia. And second time today, we're going to try a Coffee Time Live special edition telling a very interesting story. But here's the thing. Now, I ran about 8 minutes of video with the first part of the story, and I did a pretty good job with it. So rather than do that all over again myself, I downloaded it. It's only visual because for whatever reason, it was coming up with a black screen. I didn't really find it, but I think I've cured it. So I'm going to play those 8 minutes telling the story. I will be here. The chat will be live. And then when it's done telling that story, I will be here. It'll go right to my camera here. And then I'll finish telling the story. Hopefully that sounds okay. I think I got through about a third of it. All right, so let's get started. Let's see how this goes. Welcome back to the channel, Grand Columbia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live. But this is a special edition because it's Friday and Sunday. I'll have a really good Coffee Time Live. That's the aftermath of the election, and I got some stories to tell about it. So that should be very interesting. And there's some questions with this big change. Where's it going to go? I know there's a lot of panic talk. They're inheriting some of the craziness from the United States where you got to be on one side or the other. It's sad to see. However, and I'll talk about that a little bit, but setting that aside, what is it going to be like and how is it going to affect us? So we'll have that whole conversation in 2 days, Sunday, and I'm looking forward to it. But today I came up with a story. I had to get another broadcast in before the end of the month. So that's what today is. But it's also a story that I found that wouldn't really work on Sunday's Coffee Time Live because I don't think it'll be long enough. And for a main topic, it really needs to be about 20 minutes of me telling the story, somewhere around there. And this one, I don't know. We'll see, but I'm looking at it and I'm thinking it's probably going to take me about 10 minutes because as I'm writing it, and I'm going back over and I'm reading it, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's about 10 minutes. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Part of this story, I doubt anybody who sees this video ever knew. And that includes my Colombian viewers. I didn't know, and I've been heavily engrossed in the coffee world for a number of years, and I've had endless conversations with farmers and specifically on the topic of the creation of the coffee business in Colombia. And I never knew what I'm going to talk about today. But it's there, it's documented, it's very interesting. And I have no idea why it isn't better known. So we're going to get to it now. Who's here? I got a few people here, not many. These are unscheduled times. It's people just have to either stumble on it by accident because you don't know ahead of time, and I get that. Okay, so let's get to it. Long before coffee was an everyday staple, it was a restricted global secret. Originally, it was native to the cloud forest of Ethiopia. And the coffee plant was smuggled first into the Arab world, and then it made its way to Europe in the 1600s, mostly by French merchants and some royal botanists. When I say royal botanists, I mean a king and queen of a particular country would designate the royal botanist to go get the details, go find out, get samples of this stuff that we're hearing about. So a very minuscule research approach to this, but the French had caught on to this early. And as much as I don't want to give France credit for anything, you have to. If it wasn't for the French merchants who at scale brought not just coffee, but coffee plants in particular to the New World, it wouldn't be a market that it is today. But at first, it was strictly a luxury for the aristocracy, partly because it was rare. European kings and wealthy merchants sipped it from their porcelain cups in exclusive salons. But the 1800s were coming up, and the Industrial Revolution fundamentally changed the world. We all know that. And populations changed rather rapidly from the farms to the cities. Everybody was moving to where those jobs were. And workers were thrown into factories to run heavy machinery for up to 14 hours a day. Suddenly, the world didn't need coffee as that exotic luxury. It needed coffee as a survival tool. People desperately needed a legal, reliable way to stay awake, alert, and efficient in this somewhat brutal industrial age. And demand exploded across the United States and Western Europe. To show you how dangerous it is, I'm going to tell you a story about my stepbrother. A short interlude here. When he was 18 years old, he got a job in a cardboard factory, and this was in Canandaigua, New York. That's on Canandaigua Lake, it's in the Finger Lakes. And his job was to take a sheet of cardboard and place it into this machine where these two walls would slam into it. And it had in a certain pattern these essentially knife blades. So it would go in and it would cut that cardboard. And then he would take the card with the other hand, take the cardboard sheet out, already cut. And every so often, he would have to reach in and brush off the piece of the cardboard that would pile up. Old machine. So he had to do that. But the machine worked slow enough, it wasn't a problem. So he'd have this rhythm. And he did that day after day after day, week after week. And what happened was, he says that he kind of went out late that night and maybe had a few too many drinks. He came in a little hungover and a little late. And because he was a little late, he was not aware that it had been announced that they were turning the machines up a little bit faster. So he's there putting himself into that routine, certain rhythm that he built up over the weeks and months that he'd been doing this. And when he went to brush the cardboard out, it all came a little too fast, and these knife blades closed down on his arm. At 18 years old, he ended up here not having this. So he had this stump for the rest of his life. And made jokes at the hospital about wrapping it up. He liked fresh meat. And, he was kind of sick. Well, I think it ran in the family. So that's the industrial age. And you didn't want to be dozing off running this equipment. And, drugs aren't necessarily legal or available. But this coffee thing, what a great way if you got the right caffeine content. That stayed in the United States even to this day, that mentality where coffee is, the whole point of it is to be as strong as possible and carry a kick and keep you awake. So we all know where we are now, right? All of a sudden, you have this massive demand for coffee that didn't exist before. And this came to a head around the 19th century. Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay, so we're caught up, and I apologize for that. I don't know what happened, but we're back on track, and we are live, and it looks like everything's functioning. And so let's continue. So, to feed this new working class addiction, European powers relied heavily on their Caribbean colonies. By the late 18th century, the absolute king of coffee market was Haiti. Now, I didn't know that either. Then it was known as San Domingue or something like that. So, using a brutal, horrific system of slave labor on mountain plantations, Haiti single-handedly supplied a staggering 60% of the entire world's coffee supply. But that system built on a level of cruelty like that, it just couldn't stand. It wouldn't hold. And in 1791, that enslaved population rose up in the historic Haitian Revolution, eventually winning their independence in 1804. During those years of intense fighting, the colony's massive coffee plantations were burned, and basically they were just destroyed, dismantled. And almost overnight, the world's primary coffee pipeline was cut, leaving this massive lucrative vacuum in the global market. International merchants were frankly, they're looking for any tropical mountain range that could replace the lost Haitian supply. Okay, so Colombia wasn't even on the scene yet. However, let's look at Colombia, of course, specifically a small northeastern town called Salazar de las Palmas, near the Venezuelan border and those trade routes. It was around 1830, and the global coffee prices were very high. Now, local leaders knew the situation was perfect to fill that post Haiti vacuum. However, the local peasants refused to plant it. They were living basically hand to mouth and couldn't afford to wait the 3 to 5 years for a coffee tree to yield its first harvest when they could plant food or coca, a cacao, sorry, instead. Not coca. That comes later. So, a politically sharp and a pragmatic parish priest named Father Francisco Romero, he cracked the code. He realized that he could use the deepest lever of rural colonial life, the Catholic confessional, to fund the initial investment. Romero changed the rules of absolution. Instead of assigning a few verbal prayers for penance, he began linking the, we'll say, the gravity of a parishioner's sins directly to agricultural labor. So, for example, a minor lie or maybe a slight outburst of temper outside, instead of the few Hail Marys, go plant a few coffee seedlings in your yard. Skipping mass or a petty theft, clear a small plot of brush and map out a row of coffee. Infidelity, public drunkenness, or a major scandal, you're assigned to clear an entire hillside, plant a massive grove, and critically maintain the trees until they bore fruit. You have to remember, this was almost 100% Catholic country back then. And this stuff carried serious weight. So Romero brilliantly traded immediate spiritual peace for a future economic wealth. The peasants got their absolution on the spot, and the ground got a crop that would eventually transform their lives. Now, in 1835, the exact time frame Romero was running his confessional, Colombia recorded its first formal export of green coffee out of that area. His system worked. So scaling up the vice in Manizales, while the experiment was born in the Northeast, it found its true destiny hundreds of miles away in the Coffee Triangle. So during the mid to late 1800s, a massive wave of internal migration, the colonialization Antioquia, something like that, I don't know, saw thousands of families push south into the steep, unoccupied volcanic ridges of Caldas, Risaralda, and here in Quindío. They founded these rugged frontier towns like Manizales, carving a society out of the near vertical cloud forests. So, seeing this chaotic, lawless nature of these new frontier outposts, the church hierarchy stepped in to take Father Romero's brilliant idea to take that blueprint and apply it. So, Archbishop Jose Telesforo issued a systematic pastoral directive to the priests being sent into these new dioceses of the Coffee Triangle. Use a confessional to build the infrastructure. Well, of course, the new settlers were deeply religious, but they were also rowdy, competitive, rough and tumble frontiersmen. This was the Old West, except it was the South for Colombia. Sins were abundant, and the steep slopes surrounding Manizala, Pareda, and Armenia provided the perfect endless canvas for penance. Pre- Priests across the region began ordering massive coffee plantings to clear the vertical terrain. God's reward for penance soon came after. The volcanic soil and the specific microclimates of the Cafetero, the coffee triangle, turned out to be far superior to the region where Romero started near the Venezuelan border. Because the church scaled the operation using the collective weight of regional guilt, the steep slopes were rapidly carpeted in green. By the time the late 19th and early 20th centuries arrived, the penance economy had successfully pushed Colombia over the financial hump, transforming a risky colonial plant into a multi-billion-dollar global empire. The ultimate irony of the Coffee Triangle's history is that the pristine, sweeping landscapes that I see from my balcony every day, driving that economy that wasn't built by corporate planners or even agrarian visionaries. It was built by ordinary people making amends for their many vices. It doesn't get more Colombian than this story. Leaving behind an accidental paradise that stands as a beautiful caffeine fueled monument to human misbehavior. I will bet you didn't know this story. And I love this story. As I say, it doesn't get more Colombian than this. And I don't know why I didn't know this story, but I got wind of it somewhere, so I said that can't be. So I start digging, and it took a while, but I located it, and it's verified. This is how it went. That priest and that archbishop, they existed, and that's exactly what they were doing. So that's my story for today. I hope you get to watch this. Because I think this is a really good story, and I hate to think that people are going to miss it. So that's all I got today. I will see you Sunday at what I expect to be a really good, very interesting Coffee Time Live. If you watch Coffee Time Live, start sharing it. I've always held back on this, but start doing the likes, let people know, take the video, share it off so other people can see it. And with that, I'm going to thank you for being here. There were people here, surprisingly. It's very unscheduled. Plus, we had technical errors. I think, well, it wasn't my fault, but I think it was my computer. So anyway, I will see you Sunday. Ciao.
Wow.